The morning air in Jerusalem carried a bitter tang of smoke and dust. The city's streets, once vibrant with merchants, children, and song, were now silent under the shadow of Babylonian conquest. Soldiers marched in precision, their polished armor reflecting the rising sun, and in their wake followed young men taken from their homes. Among them was Daniel, a youth of noble lineage, whose eyes reflected both sorrow and a quiet determination. Alongside him were Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his steadfast friends and companions, each sharing his resolve and fear. Bound and escorted across foreign lands, Daniel clung to the teachings of his forefathers, holding fast to the God of Israel despite the uncertainty that lay before them. Babylon loomed in the distance, a city of grand palaces, towering walls, and golden gates. Here, the king, Nebuchadnezzar, sought the finest youths, those without blemish, talented in wisdom, and capable of serving in his royal court. Daniel and his friends, selected from the best families of Judah, would become captives in the empire of men. Upon arrival, they were brought to the care of Ashpenaz, the chief of the eunuchs, who was charged with their education. Babylonian culture was vast, rich, and foreign, and Daniel and his companions were assigned new names to honor the gods of the empire. Daniel became Belteshazzar, Hananiah became Shadrach, Mishael became Meshach, and Azariah became Abednego. Yet in their hearts, their true identity remained, bound to the God of Israel. As part of their training, the king provided food and wine from his table, offerings often defiled by Babylonian customs. Daniel, aware of the law of his God, refused to compromise. He boldly requested permission to eat vegetables and drink water, a simple diet that would honor his faith. Ashpenaz, wary of offending the king, proposed a 10-day trial. At the end, the youths appeared healthier and stronger than all others, and from then on, they were allowed to maintain their chosen diet. God's favor was upon them. Daniel's wisdom and understanding surpassed that of all his peers, and to him alone, God granted the secret gift of interpreting dreams and visions. After 3 years of training, they were presented before Nebuchadnezzar. Their knowledge astonished the king, who appointed them to serve in his court. Nebuchadnezzar, a man of vast ambition, was troubled by a dream that haunted his sleep. He summoned his magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers, demanding they reveal both the dream and its meaning. When they confessed they could not, his anger burned hot, and he decreed that all wise men of Babylon be executed. Daniel, hearing of the king's decree, went to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, and requested time. He and his companions prayed through the night, seeking God's revelation. In a vision, God revealed both the dream and its meaning. Daniel approached the king the next day with courage, recounting the dream. A massive statue of gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay, each representing successive kingdoms. The head of gold was Babylon, the eternal kingdom of the Most High, would ultimately crush the statue and endure forever. Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face in reverence. Daniel was exalted, promoted, and granted authority over the province of Babylon and chief oversight of all the wise men. Yet, even as the empire prospered under Babylon's might, Daniel remained a servant to God alone, humble in heart despite worldly honor. During Daniel's rise, Nebuchadnezzar constructed a massive golden image and commanded all to bow in worship. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, steadfast in their faith, refused. Enraged, the king ordered them cast into a fiery furnace, hotter than the flames could ever be measured. But as the flames roared, a fourth figure appeared with them, radiant and untouched by the fire. God himself walked among them. The 3 men emerged unharmed, their clothes unburned, their faith triumphant. Nebuchadnezzar, witnessing the miracle, praised their God, acknowledging his power as supreme over all. Nebuchadnezzar's pride, however, proved his weakness. In time, he boasted that his kingdom and power were due solely to his might. In punishment, God humbled him, and he lost his reason, living among the animals until he acknowledged that the Most High rules over all kingdoms of men. Eventually, his reason restored, Nebuchadnezzar praised God once more. Years later, Belshazzar, his grandson, held a great feast. In drunken arrogance, he desecrated sacred vessels taken from Jerusalem's temple. Suddenly, a hand appeared, writing mysterious words on the wall. None could interpret them. Daniel, called before the king, read the writing, many, tekel, upharsin. The king's reign was judged and found wanting. That very night, Babylon fell to the Medes and Persians, just as Daniel had declared. Under the rule of Darius the Mede, Daniel continued to serve with integrity. Envious officials plotted against him, exploiting the king's decree that no prayer be offered to any god or man except the king for 30 days. Daniel, unwavering, prayed openly to God 3 times a day. The conspirators seized the moment, and Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. The king spent a sleepless night, tormented by concern for Daniel. At dawn, he hurried to the den and called out. Daniel answered, unharmed, for God had sent an angel to shut the mouths of the lions. The king rejoiced, issuing a decree that all should fear and reverence Daniel's God, who delivers and saves. In his later years, Daniel received visions of future kingdoms and the end times. He saw 4 beasts rising from the sea, each representing successive empires, and a ram and goat locked in battle, symbolizing Medo-Persia and Greece. Through these visions, God revealed the ultimate triumph of his kingdom and the coming of a Messiah, a ruler whose dominion would never end. Daniel's prophecies, though mysterious to many, bore witness to God's sovereignty over history, nations, and time itself. Even in exile, Daniel remained a figure of integrity, courage, and wisdom. He navigated treacherous courts, confronted prideful kings, and endured plots against his life. Throughout, he relied not on his own strength, but on the God who watches over his people, faithful and true. His life was a testament that even in a foreign land, among enemies and idols, faithfulness brings wisdom, protection, and ultimate vindication. Daniel's story concludes not merely as a tale of miracles, but as a legacy of unwavering faith, of courage in the face of oppression, of wisdom born from devotion, and of visions that pierce the veil of time. His life reminds all who read it that no matter the kingdom, no matter the fire, and no matter the den of lions, God's hand guides, protects, and triumphs over every challenge.